speech, and I attended that meet. I went specially to hear him, and he was first class. But then after that, I've been to meetings, you know, when they've had somebody talking about an abstruse subject that's taken up 3/4 of the meeting, and anybody else never had a chance to finish. Well, Eugene Shoemaker had a lecture on solar system roulette. That was on what chances were we being hit by an asteroid, or what chances was there to be hit by a comet. So I thought, right, I'll go down. So I went there, sat in the audience, and he spent most of his time talking about asteroids and the chances of, because him and his wife have been photographing and catching quite a large number of these close moving asteroids, you see, which of course has opened up the eyes, because the chances now are very much greater than we ever thought, you see. And then he mentioned that there had been a comet in 1770 that had approached close to the Earth, and no other comet had approached anything like as near as that until comet Alcock. And he said, I think that Alcock, who is an English astronomer, actually found this comet through a window. You see, so I looked round in the audience. Nobody knew I was there. Not a soul knew I was there. So at the end of the lecture, he went over. He overshot the time. Very interesting, you see, because he was able to tell us where various comets or asteroids had actually hit. They know where they've hit, you see, landed, and the holes they've made in craters and one thing and another. And it was most interesting, you see. And when the lecture was over, everybody, because he had overshot his time, everybody disappeared just like that. Left him up on the platform solely on his own to pack up his own apparatus. So I went up to him and I said, actually, I am the gentleman that you mentioned discovering a comet. Well, of course, the minute he didn't twig it, I said, the fellow who looked had actually found a comet through double glazed window. Oh, he said, nice to see you, sir. Ever so pleased to see you. I said, do you know that you are the only one in this room, out of the 300 that have been in this room, you're the only one who knows that I was there. He couldn't believe it. I said, it wouldn't happen in your country, would it? Then I said to him, I said, can't you have a rest? Can't you leave off and leave a space for us to find something? I said, we got no chance to find any comets at opposition. I said, have a rest every now and again. Let me know when you're not doing anything. So we laughed together and we parted, you see, like that. Because he was going to a dinner or something at the end of the meeting, I suppose. But he was left solitary on that room was empty except me and him.
So as comet Alcock disappeared over the horizon, did you think that would be your last comet discovery?
Yes, more or less. I
think you'll find another?
Yeah, well, it will be purely by chance. But now I think with these letters, because for the first time with these, I have found a very faint cluster in Lyra, which I can't tell you, and I don't know the number of it, but it's the first where I've been can see the ring nebula in Lyra, also in the same area. I mean, no other binoculars have ever been able to see the ring nebula in Lyra, but I could see it with this, first time ever.
So you're going to start and search with renewed enthusiasm?
Oh yes, I'm after that. Yes, I'm going to have a go. I'll spend another couple of years if I last another 2 years.
You're 79 years young yet.
Well, I suppose so. I wonder. I hope I can carry on quite a bit, because I'm remarkably fit for a chap of my age. I mean, I shouldn't be around. Yes.
What about your latest discovery then, George, Nova Hercules? Has this been a satisfying discovery for you?
Well, it's been a remarkable discovery. It's more remarkable than all the rest, because that night, for the first time and only time ever, when the sky darkened that night, I had a feeling that I was going to make a discovery. Now, this is most astonishing. And I was very annoyed when the sky clouded over at 20 under hours 10 GMT. And of course, the sky, of course, when the moment the clouds come over here, the skies, they become bright orange colour all over the sky. Panther had just phoned me to say there was an aurora, which I didn't see because it clouded over almost instantly. Of course, it took another half an hour for it to cloud over it because it was a northeasterly wind, you see, blowing up from there. And I thought, I've missed it. Why haven't I found it? And then when it cleared at 4 o'clock, I was in bed in the front room. I leave the curtains drawn because you see the glow on the sky, so you know there's cloudy. There's no point.
You're supposed to be asleep when you're in bed, George.
I don't. I only sleep brief periods because I make at least 3 or 4 weather observations every night.
So you
for all of my life.
You just have short periods of sleep, do you?
Yes. Well, I can. It might seem surprise to you, but supposing, for instance, I want to make a special observation, or I want to start observing, say at 2:10, I can wake up within 10 minutes or a quarter of an hour of that very time, and see if the sky is clear or not, you see, and make the weather observation. I'm back asleep again within a matter of minutes, you see. I can knock off, just wake up. But I can do it almost. I never use an alarm clock, never have used an alarm clock, you see. So that morning when it cleared, it was clearing at 4:05, and I just got a few minutes. I knew it was getting light. Even the dawn had already broken. I knew I'd only got about 20 minutes, so I chose the smallest pair of binoculars I've got. Those wide angle binoculars, only achieved through the kindness of one of my bird watching friends, one of my old scholars got me these, and I went over the sky as if
you were here, weren't you, George? In this room?
I was in this room on the psychiatrist's chair, which is now in the garden. I slept on this room and I was observing within 2 minutes of getting out of bed.
You're still in your dressing gown?
Oh, yeah, I hadn't got a dressing gown on. I don't know whether I got anything on, but I think I got some pyjamas on, but that was about all. And within 2 minutes I was observing. And I went over the sky, all over that sky, close to the window as possible, right over that sky, like as if I was a cat, a scalded cat. I was going over the sky at tremendous speed. And then I wasn't a bit surprised that I found it that much. It didn't give me any satisfaction because I'd got to get somebody on the ball quick, very quick, equally as quick, because I knew perfectly well that Basingstoke had got a fair amount of clear. There was a possibility you would clear with that apparatus upstairs. So I phoned you, and then the only atlas I could find was Uranometria.
Yeah.
And that gave Epoch 2000, and I wondered whether that was going to give you problems, but I sent that, and you took it. But then I phoned your wife later, I thought, well, I'd better give you the Epoch 1950.
Yeah.
So I phoned her, whether you got that or not, I don't know. I don't suppose you did. You didn't worry about it until after you photographed it, you see. Then you checked it, I suppose. Yes. But I was equally amazed to know that you had actually developed the photograph within 35 minutes and phoned me back to say that you got it on a fault plate.
Yeah.
You see, that's what has amazed me most of all. And then a quarter of an hour later, Guy Hurst had actually sent the details by mail to about 40 observatories.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew then, you and I and Guy Hurst, we knew that nothing had been heard of from Sugano.
No.
Nothing was heard of from Sugano except that he confirmed with his discovery with Tokyo.
Yeah.
But we were ahead of them all along the line, weren't we? I mean, it was our observations that reached worldwide far quicker than anyone else. And I didn't know that you'd photographed several other observatories on your own bat until just recently. I didn't know that you'd found 3 or 4 observatories as well. You see, so I should think the discovery went as quick as anything has ever been found anywhere.
It's quite fortunate that we did do this quickly because it was such an unusual object.
Yes.
The decline was incredibly rapid.
Yes. I only saw it twice. I only saw it twice. It was cloudy the next night, and the next night after that it dropped to about 8.2.
Yeah.
And I never saw it again. I never saw it with this apparatus. I couldn't get any of that.
I photographed it about 2 weeks ago, and it's about 15 magnitude.
Oh,
still photographing it.
It's slowing down. It's slowing down, has it?
Yeah.
So the curve is quite smooth, isn't it? It went straight down like that, and then it's curved out like that. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
That That was a tremendous night, George.
It was. It certainly was. Because, and of course, again, for the first time, I got information back that had been confirmed. This was because, and then Guy Hurst sent me the email for the first 24 hours or so, and I've got the email. But before that, nothing. You never got anything. You see, until Marsden phoned Guy Hurst or Candy or Dr. Merton. You never got it. You never got to know anything.
Yeah.
And you see, what has happened over this? If it hadn't have been for you and Guy Hurst going to London deliberately to inform the society of this, you see, nothing's been happening in the Royal Astronomical Society. You don't hear anything from them at all. Nothing at all from them at all. So every time, I will say this, every time, TA has always been the first people to receive any information of any of my discoveries. You can look back through the list of TA journals and you'll find it's mentioned in every one, but it's not mentioned anywhere else at all.
So TA is the organisation?
Oh, it's the only organisation, the only organisation. There's nothing else like it. See?
Because you've got your various architectural drawings and your bird watching and your
Naturalist, yes.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about them, George?
Well, these all started with extra work that I used to do at school, after school time. I used to take classes in the evening during the winter time, and then in the summertime I would take them out to visit the sites where these things are to be found. We're in a very fortunate area, perhaps the most fortunate area in the whole of England for architecture, because the medieval architecture in this area of Northamptonshire, Lincolnshire, and that is the finest in England. So I used to take them out and show them it, and they, after they'd been with me to talks in the evenings, they used to come out with me. And then we did a lot of work for the Nature Conservancy in the Botanical Atlas of the British Isles, when we made 7,900 observations of ordinary common wildflowers on the grass perches. We never entered anybody's private property at all. They were all, and these sketches have been made ever since 1980, because I found one girl that I took out on one occasion had never shown any interest in school life at all, and her parents couldn't get a word out of her what she'd done at school. The usual answer was, oh, nothing, or, you know, shrug her shoulders and that. And when I took her out, for the first time ever, she gave her father a 45-minute talk of what she'd seen about butterflies and wild birds. So I started this, and she's the only other one who's got a complete colour sketch of these 160 odd nature sheets. There's something like 750 drawings in the whole lot. And I'm trying to do these, but it's a slow process.
These are the architectural drawings.
I'm trying to do these, but I've got about 5,000 to do, and I've done about 400. So you see, I'm not. But I hope that you'll been true. I see. But
these are all completely hand drawn, then.
These are all hand drawn from photographs which I've taken, or sketches that I've made in the field. Mostly the photographs I've taken, but I'm in great trouble with all the photography work I've done, because if you're interested in one subject, your photographs are easy to find, but when you're interested in so many different subjects, you never can find the one that you want. So I've packed up that all together, and I do nothing else but drawing now. Yes.
So these drawings really go right back to your school days, where you
yes.
teaching.
My father was a very strange person in many ways. He read books that nobody else read, and the librarian always used to save these books for him. And also, he took me on. He only had a week's holiday a year, and we used to go to one place on the Monday, two places on the Tuesday, and so on. And I didn't like it going first, but I got an appetite for it. So my architecture interest started from him. Yeah.
Also, tell us a tale about this modest plaque that we've got here in front of us, George.
That comes from with the MBE. That comes. It's rather nice because it's signed by the Queen at the top and Prince Philip at the bottom in their own writing. You get one of those if you get the...
And what was this given to you for, George?
For services to astronomy.
And who proposed you for this? Or
I have no idea. I have no idea at all. They don't tell you who does it. I think in one case it was a gentleman in Peterborough who founded the Peterborough Astronomical Society, now defunct. He wrote 3 times to the Queen personally, asking it's about time somebody recognises the work of this old chap in Peterborough, and that may have helped. But it must have been supported by the RAS or something like that. But I don't know.
Was it a surprise to you then?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Pleasant surprise?
Yes, quite a pleasant surprise. Yes. I was told in early November, and it couldn't be announced until the New Year's Honours List.
Yeah.
And I went in February, and I was rather pleased that the Queen herself handed it to me, and showed somewhat surprised that the subject I got it for was astronomy. She sort of, was it? You hadn't had any astronomers before. You don't get astronomers for that. So I was the odd man out that time. Yes.
Not so odd, George. Okay.
There you go. One of these lenses. Oh, it's there. I'll forget it how to use it. It's got several colour filters. Yes. Right. That's it.
Well, George, this is probably the most famous binocular telescope in England. It's one that you've made a few discoveries with. Do you want to tell us exactly how you use it and what sort of sweeps you make with it to discover comets?
With these instruments, you either sweep slowly, vertically, or horizontally. There's no other way of doing it. You have to do it either one or the other. And it's a very slow process. You have to, in case you miss anything on the way across.
How fast would you sweep, George?
Oh, about this speed. This is all.
And as the stars
I do it in jerks, because if you do it in a continuous sweep, your eyes go slightly out of focus. But if you stop, you can see much lower down the magnitude. So you stop. You do it in jerks like that, and then when you've done that across like that, you then either go up or down about 3/4 of the way up like that.
So you've got an overlap.
And then I have a small overlap back like this. And you do the same process over and over again for about 2 hours and a half, 3 hours at a time, like that.
And as the star fields are coming through, you're recognising the patterns.
You recognise the patterns, and of course, as far as comets are concerned, you know, or you should know after all these years, you should know every star cluster and every extragalactic nebulae down to about 12, so that you're not surprised if a comet actually turns up in the field, because you know it's a new object that you haven't seen before. Because you know all the others. You don't refer to everything has to be done in memory. You can waste enormous amount of time checking up atlases. You haven't got the time. It'll cloud over while you're doing that, so you have to remember everything.
And the comets that you swept up with this, do they tend to have a different sort of a look to them than extragalactic nebulae?
Well, nearly every... The one thing that I was rather unfortunate, I wish Merton had never told me, was the Comet Encke in Leo. On one occasion when it approached, and it was in Leo, and it was extremely small. It had a diameter of the coma, but not more than 1/4 of a minute, and it had a short tail, about 2 minutes long. Now, had I never seen that comet, I would never have been worried. But after seeing that comet, I thought there was a lot of comets that size that you could see. But every other comet that I've seen after discovery, or by me or anybody else, has always got a large coma, a diffuse edge, and is never less than 3 minutes of arc in diameter. And had I not bothered about that comet,
you wouldn't have worried about all the small objects. I wouldn't have worried about the small stuff
altogether, because you know that you're not going to find anything like that. You're going to find an object which is about at least 3 minutes or 2 minutes of arc across, and it's globular in shape. It hasn't got a tail. It's just got the coma, and that's all you look for. You see, that's all you really look for.
What about problems like frost and dew and things like this when you're observing in the open?
I found out that this instrument, immediately I got it, dew affected it.
Yeah.
But if you put a blanket over it, and I always have a blanket over it, I haven't had any trouble with dew from that moment on.
And so does a blanket go over your head as well to cut out the extraneous light?
Yes, it goes over the extraneous light as well. Yes, you're quite right. Yes, it does. Yes.
And you just get yourself comfortable. Do you bother with any refreshments like a flask of coffee or?
I never stopped for anything. We never had to with the meteor work, because when we stopped, we used to stop for a time, and we found out that the other chap was stopping at a slightly different time.
Mm.
And a bright meteor always occurred at the time when neither of us were looking. You see, so we don't stop for anything. I just go on.
You just keep going until I've had
enough.
You've done.
Yeah.
And when do you actually decide when it's time to pack up? Is it either dawn or perhaps the conditions are deteriorating? Or?
Well, normally now, of course, I don't observe for more than about 2.5 hours at a time, and then I have a break, and then probably after a couple of hours I go back again. But normally I don't observe right through the night now like I used to. With meteor work, we used to work all the way through the night.
You're still clocking up large numbers of hours searching with this and the other binoculars?
I suppose I am, but I've done, in the last 2.5 years, I've done about 650 hours in 2.5 years. That's my programme up to now. But we've had pretty awful weather in that time, so I could have done a lot more. But that's what you've got to do if you're going to find anything. No doubt about it.
If other people are interested in taking up comet sweeping, would they need to have an instrument like this?
I think they must have a wide-angle telescope. I think you must have either that, or you must have a telescope at least 8 inches, a reflector at least 8 inches in diameter. Panther has now got a new 14-inch, which you can see a field of 1 degree with this 14-inch. So. But you see, he's now picking up scores of galaxies.
Yeah.
And he has to keep stopping, you see. I don't think he's got, well, I know he hasn't got, he can't remember things like I can, but he can remember quite a bit. But he's got problems with the 14-inch and with the 10-inch that he had with galaxies.
Yeah. So, well, these binocular telescopes like these are pretty thin on the ground, aren't they? Yeah. So, do you actually need an instrument like this, or can you make do with a smaller binocular?
Well, I don't think you can make do with much smaller binocular for comets, but you certainly can for novae. You can use any sort of reasonable binoculars for novae, providing that your memory, it's your memory with novae, nothing else. It isn't the instrument, it's what you can remember. And if you're not prepared to spend ages trying to learn the stuff off by heart, you're never going to succeed in novae sweeping. It's far easier for the camera people to find an automatic system where they can go straight to bed, and the camera takes photographs right over the sky every 2 hours, but then of course they've got all the problems of checking and developing the field, which I haven't got.
Once you've made your search, that's it.
That's it, yes. There's either nothing there or there is. Or you've left a hole somewhere.
Where somebody else can find it.
Yes, that's right. That's true. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, George, this is looks like your preferred position for sweeping for novae. How exactly do you handle the binoculars here?
Well, I've got no armrest now at all. And because these binoculars are so much lighter than the others, I can sweep with these for an hour or so without having any trouble with my arms. When the sky begins to get dark, the twilight begins to go, you always start way up in the zenith, way up here, round Vega. Now, I start with Vega now, and I'll sweep round. I sweep in any direction at all. And then when it begins to get dark enough, I then go to preferred areas like Aquila, Vulpecula, and down towards Sagittarius. That's the area where I think there's more chance of finding a nova suddenly in that area than anywhere else. So then I go down, and again I sometimes start low down, work upwards, and other times I go down the other way. But I have no problem with I can sweep right down, I can get right up. In fact, I can go overhead. And as you know, in the northern sky, if you look this way, you find that stars are upside down in one part of the sky than they are because they go around the pole. But I know exactly what the patterns look like upside down or sideways or anywhere else, so I've no trouble there at all. Yeah.
So you're quite comfortable there, and you can do this in the middle of the winter?
Well, I don't know. I don't think I'll be observing out here in the middle of winter anymore.
But you have done in the past?
I have always done in the past. I've had, I think the worst weather we had was January 1940, when the temperature was down in the teens Fahrenheit. And as I say, you had to take a knife out with it to scrape off the hoarfrost to record the meteor tracks down. See, there. So, but now, having got this double glazing, I think outside any cold night, I think is adding. I'm inside from now.
So this window here, then, this is your famous double glazing.
That's it.
And this is the window that you've seen
that I use
for all your sweeping, more or less.
Well, in the front room as well.
And the front room as well.
Yes, I can. And the landing, of course.
Yeah. You're just crawling over the house.
Yes,
looking.
that's right.
You've got a skylight, and you.
No, I haven't. So that's the only problem now, is that I don't get in the zenith if I'm observing inside.
Yeah.
But as you know, it isn't long before the skies in the zenith will go down in the west. So
yeah.
you keep watching as high up as possible in the front bedroom.
Yeah.
And downstairs, the downstairs window is very much bigger than that one.
Yeah.
Downstairs, 7'6" in length, the downstairs.
Have you always observed on your own, George? After your meteor days, you've never been part of a team?
No, never.
It's always been on your own.
It's always been on my own, completely on my own.
Wouldn't it be so easy some nights to say, "Oh, I just don't feel like it tonight," and you just don't do it, or are you always inspired to get out there?
Well, you see, as we've already noted, that there's no mercy in this game whatsoever. If you pack up on one night, it's bound to be that night that somebody else is going to find it. No matter whether there hasn't been anything for a year or more, it'll bound to be the night when you don't do anything. So you're really at the mercy of it all the time. It's a life on its own. See, if you're going to achieve anything, it's a life on its own.
Do you ever take holidays though, George? Do you ever leave it for a week or two and go away?
Well, after going to Switzerland in 1952...
It's a long time ago, George.
Yeah. We had our last holiday, because my wife was crippled in 1958 actually. We've had one holiday since then, when I took her to Aldborough on the Suffolk coast for 4 or 5 days, and we had so much trouble with toilets and one-off problems and getting moving around, that I've never had another holiday since, except I did have 10 days by myself down with my bird watching group at North Walsham, down there, and I chose to go 10 days in April.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, April would be all right. Instead of that, it snowed and it hailed and it rained all the time I was there, and so I've never been anywhere since. So the only time I go now is by train first thing in the morning, back again at night. That's the only, like I did when I came up here.
Yeah. So you're always back here for observing.
I'm always back here for observing. Yeah.
There's only illness that would stop you, but you've never been ill.
Well, fortunately, I've not been seriously ill now since 1961. So. And I go along to the doctors and I always say, I look at them and I say, well, I don't know what you've got in the surgery there, but they seem to be all about 17, 18, 19 years of age. I said, what are they doing there? I said, I'm fitter than all the rest. I've come here under false pretences. See? I always have a crack at because nearly all of them I've taught, you see.
Yeah.
I always have a crack at them and I say, I'm fitter than you lot. I don't know what I'm here for.
So if you're going to give advice to any young astronomers who wanted to start searching for novae and comets, what would be the best advice you could give them?
Forget it. Simple as that. Forget it. Because you've got to be absolutely balmy.
You don't think there's another George Alcock just round the corner?
Well, if there is, he better not turn up while I'm around. But he can come after that whenever he likes, but I don't think there'll be anybody else. I think everything will be done by photography from now on.
You think that you're the last of the greatest visual
searchers? I think we are the last of the old school. It always used to intrigue me that in the
in the last days of the Victorian period, and one thing another, it was possible in those days, like Mr. Prentice's father, if it was a day like this, he just contacted his friends in the same town. Let's close the shop, let's close everything, let's close the office and all the rest of it, and go down to Woodbridge for a sale.
Yeah.
And they used to just shut everything up and go for a sale. And the parsons used to put a spare job. They were nearly all botanists, you know. All the parsons always used to do jobs on their own. But that era is gone. I think I must be the last one to ever be. So there we are.
Is life moving on a bit quicker now, George, do you think, for people who are working in astronomy than it was when you started?
Well, it's different entirely. The equipment is beyond belief now to what it used to be. I mean, for you, for instance, but in professional astronomy, of course, it's changed completely in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And now with all this artificial satellite stuff, which I'm very pleased I've been able to get this equipment, this latest equipment, before I'm too old to appreciate it. I think that's been marvellous. And to actually live long enough to be able to see it. Because nearly all my confederates have gone now. There's hardly any of them still alive now that I used to know. That's another thing you learn to do, to sort of forget things and don't let it worry you at all. Don't let anything worry you. See, I don't worry about anything. Least of all money. I'm not interested in money at all. Because when I was at school, I was on the basic scale until 2 years before I retired. Everybody else was getting a lot more money than me in the 30s and 40s. They were only 30 and 40. I was in my 60s and getting the basic scale. Because there was always somebody older than me, higher up school, and they gave it the money to him. Until right at the end, when the headmaster said, I think we ought to do something about you. We ought to give you a post of special responsibility for your pension. And I said, well, look, I cannot do any more than I'm doing now. So you understand that? I'm not doing any more than what I'm doing now. Because I used to have to come home and cook the meal 10 times a night. I sometimes used to have to get her out of bed and put on. It was always a problem. Now she's been in home 2.5 years. I spent some money on there, you know.
Yeah. So, is there who's been your longest friend in astronomy? Who's the person that you've been working most close with for a lot of years?
Well, it was Prentice, of course, for ages, and I still have contact with his wife. I still go and see her fairly regularly. And but it's been Roy Panther's the only one I've really had been in contact with him since. You see, and I could say some things of our relationship there, which has been, he's followed me, he's noticed that I've got sort of one ahead, and he's sort of done the same thing again, you see. So
were you pleased when Roy discovered his comet?
Yes, of course I was. That night was a brilliant night, and it was a choice. I had the choice. Shall I nova sweep or shall I comet? And of course I chose nova sweeping, so I missed the comet, but I would have got it if it had been on the first areas I would have looked at. But anyway, it was a good job I didn't, and he got it, because otherwise it would have been pretty awful, because he's been observing for comets now since 1946, 47. And I mean, that's a long, I mean, you can have a go at me and say it's slow as far as I'm concerned, but he's only had one in about, well, it's coming up to 40 years.
Yeah.
See, that's why I would never say to anybody else, for heaven's sake, do comet or nova.
It's got to come from within then, has it, George? You've got to want to do this.
Well, I had to say to myself, now what else is there you can do in astronomy? A single man with not a lot of equipment and not a lot of money. What is the thing he can do if he's going to achieve anything? For a time I did planetary work, and then found out that the people in America were getting photographs quite equivalent to anything I could see. So planetary work out. I sent hundreds of observations in about sunspots, but I was competing with Greenwich and places like that. There's no point in doing that. You see, I wanted a slot in something that no one else was doing. Was there a chance? Was there anything left that nobody else could do? And as far as I know, these are the only two fields left. I mean, unless you've got vast equipment like you have, I mean, I can't I can't see any other way of doing anything.
The only other one I could think of, George, is observing variable stars with binoculars and things like
Yeah,
this.
but I've found out that I was immediately told that some of the observations I made, for instance, of Nova Delphini, I made about 600. They didn't agree with other people.
Was that 600 you said, George?
I made about 600 observations of Nova Delphini, and they didn't agree with other people. They did agree with the gentleman over in the East who died shortly after that, who used to send articles into Sky and Telescope with the Marsden and all those. He was with those. I forget what his name was. Anyway, it's in the... Yeah, and he agreed his light curve was similar to mine. But we had one or two gentlemen in this country who's had far more experience than me. That's what they said. And it was they just cut me out. See, there's no point in me observing. I was doing wrong. There's no point in me. If I hadn't got the confidence to do it, there was no point in me carrying on. And of course, Glasby, before he packed up or was told to pack up, Glasby comes out with a famous statement which I've never forgotten. It's in the TA journal somewhere back. That, well, you know, after I discovered a nova and that, well, it's quite easy to learn the skies up down to magnitude 8. Quite easy. This is in the... Well, of course it is to anybody but me. But me being a late developer, it wasn't all that easy. See, so that's it.
So comets and...
I think they're the only things that you could left. You see, it means, of course, doesn't it, that unless you're working with a team, the amateur astronomer has more or less had it. But if he works with a team and they've got the apparatus to carry on with that particular work, then it's possible. But a single amateur, I don't think it's hardly worth it.
Do you see that the way that TA conducts astronomy in this country is the way forward for amateurs?
It's the only way forward, as far as I can see. It's the only way forward. Except there are some things, as I say, the meteor section. Well, I can't believe half of that stuff that they put in there, because when they know a radiant from one meteor and two meteors, when you know there might be 30 radiants inactive at the same night, the meteors coming from all directions, and they can choose that it comes from Virginids or the Scorpiids or the Capricornids. No. It was our effort was to find the radiant. That's what made all this writing down. I mean, there's copious notes on every meteor that you wrote down. You know, you wrote the beginning, the middle. You had to write at least three alignments with the stars, so as you get your alignment. You had to lose at least 3 stars. So it had to be half a degree south proceeding, 3 degrees north following, plumb on so and so, and half a degree, so that you got your line. Then you had to do the beginning to within a quarter of a degree if you could, half a degree at the most, and the end if you saw it, see. Then you had to do the magnitude so that somebody else could recognise whether it's the same meteor or not. I mean, it's no good saying the 6th magnitude is the same as the 1st magnitude.
No.
So, and then you did the colour, and then you did the streak or the train, and if the streak or train was visible for any length of time, you tried to find the drift. You had to give it the drift. And any other things that happened, if it exploded at the end, or its light curve was oscillating, or whether it was a smooth light curve, whether it was a sharp beginning and fade ending, all this. I mean, the data on one meteor was fantastic. Now all they do is just count them, and they think they know where the meteors come from, which I am sure they don't.
Well, I think that your approach to astronomy, George, has been absolutely magnificent. I think that your achievements have spoken volumes about you as a person, and I think that you've probably shown us that you've really enjoyed your life in astronomy.
Well, I've enjoyed everything, all my life, in all subjects, you see. I'm one of those people who it would be disaster to stop.
Yeah.
To me, to actually have to pack up and leave it all, because my last observation, my last nova sweep, will be the night when I know the most.
Yeah.
And the next night, if I'm not here to do it, if I'm passed on straight away, will be an utterly disaster. Because you can't pass on this information to anybody else.
No.
You've had to learn it, and when you finish with it, no one else can take it up. They've got to start from scratch again, haven't they, in everything they do. And to me, a disaster leaving this planet. I'm not looking forward to it at all.
Looking through these your famous glazed windows, this is a position that you were in that morning when you discovered Nova Hercules 1991.
Position, exact site this was. And I'd swept right across the top and over there, down, all over. And I went right round the back here, and then I came up from Gamma Ophiuchi up there, and I found it just about that altitude, just there. That's where it was. That cable was out of focus, so it didn't make any trouble at all. And I can see it now, but you can't see it at night because it's too close to the sea. But that's how it was found there. I'd been the whole of the window I'd done, and then came back up this side and stayed just there and got it there. Yes, that's right. With these wide angle 10 times 50 binoculars, because time was so short.
So this is a pair of binoculars that anybody could buy in a shop, and as long as you know how to use them, you have a chance of discovering.
Well, I don't know how to. I don't think you have a chance to use them until your memory comes in. I don't think anybody's got a chance to find anything with these. Not even a comet with these, unless pure by accident, because they're not big enough in here. Comets are not big enough in here. And those binoculars were used on the landing to discover Iraqi Alcock there. And I was kneeling down when I found them with those, kneeling, because I'd got this thing. See, now I used to have a chair with arms, but I found it's not necessary with these. So that's it. This is the spot.
This is comfortable observing then, George.
All the other, prior to 1983, prior to 1983, all the discoveries were made on that bit of grass at the bottom here. All of them were made in that tiny bit of grass.
Must be one of the most prolific pieces of grass in England, this, George, when it comes to discovery.
Maybe, but I don't think the people of Farset know what goes on here. Nobody knows what goes on in this place. They certainly don't know what apparatus is upstairs and things like that.
No.
Because you haven't seen the radio teleprinter in the front room.
No,
It was like there, you see. Because the weather observations, as you see, I make them about every hour and a half. Day and night. Yes, this was the mat I was kneeling on. I came and put my wife, she was sleeping in that bed there. Well, not sleeping, I didn't put her to bed. I just walked across here, took hold of these, and in a matter of, well, it couldn't have been more than a couple of minutes, I decided to, I was kneeling down here, and I swept just up there, and lo and behold, there it was.
So this was Iris Iraqi Alcock?
That's it, that's the one. That was the one that was found here.
Just hold it there, George.
I do quite a bit of nova sweeping in this area down through Perseus and Auriga now, this time of the evening. Early or midnight when they're coming up, I do it from here. But when the moon has soon gone, I can do all my observing for a short time around the back garden. So that's how it's done from this very window.
Iris Iraqi Alcock.
That's it, that's the one, the big one. Well, it was.
It was a big
small
one.
comment, but it had to be big because it was near.
Yes,
that's right. So.
It was almost unbelievable, but it really was an incredible feat, George.
Well,
absolutely incredible. I mean, most people don't really believe it, I don't think, but here's the truth of the matter. Here's the window, here's the binoculars.
That's it, it's just there.
There's the map.
There's the map. I was nearly done. Yes, that's it. That's true. But you should just see the light there is across there now. It's enormous.
Is this what upsets you most?
Yes, I get very annoyed with that. Especially now as we're losing the brickyard smoke.
Yeah.
There's only a few chimneys left. Used to be 135 belching out. Now we're going to lose them.
How many lights have you got here?
Oh, well over 1,000
Oh, dear.
sodium lights.
And you can still discover things even in conditions like that.
I suppose so. They're very few and far between.
Do you think you would have been able to discover fainter comets if you'd have been in better conditions?
Oh yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. If I'd have gone to Norfolk, when my wife first became crippled, we moved to Norfolk, where the lights are as good as anywhere in the country. There's less light there inland from Fakenham and places like that. I think as a matter of fact, Panther's been toying with the idea of going there for ages, but he's going to miss the boat soon because I think he'll find out when he's got there that sodium lights have been introduced.
Yeah.
See, there's some villages there in Norfolk with no lights at all still, not a light, not even a bulb in the street, which is amazing. I mean, I could take you to them and they were absolutely amazing.
So the better conditions would have given you even more.
Oh, definitely.
Because some of the ones that were announced while you were sweeping and searching, comets particularly, did you feel that if you'd have had better conditions, you would have found those?
And the weather, of course.
Yes,
it's always the weather. I think that the area that comes where I come back from Stowmarket through the Breckland Forest near West Stow, I've stopped there 2 or 3 times in the middle of the night, and it's absolutely black because the trees hide all the glow on the horizon. Absolutely jet black there. Can't be bad where he lives, but certainly there it's absolutely superb. And that was one night I came back from Stowmarket, and I got these glasses on board the car, and I didn't stop. I missed R.S. Ophioki's outburst in 1965 or something like that, the previous one. Missed it because I didn't look. When I got home, I was told.
Why do you think the Japanese have been so successful at comet sweeping?
I think that they are mostly observing on high ground, mountain country, and although they may have a terrific lot of light below them, in the towns and cities below them, the glow doesn't go up above them where they are. I'm sure they're not observing at sea level. I'm sure they're observing high up, and therefore they're above most of the glow. They still have a lot of glow because, of course, the country's still enormously full of people. I mean, 90 million people, I think, they're in Japan. But I'm sure that is the reason. And of course, they've got a lot of sea. So if a nova appears over the sea, the sky will be pretty black over in that direction. That reason is, I think. And of course, they also, every discovery, they receive a remuneration from the industry.
Do they?
Oh yes, if you find a comet, you get so much money from the industry because you're supporting the country.
So perhaps you should get in touch with people like GEC or British Nuclear Fuels or something like that.
Well, you do know the comet observer of the last century, the American.
Yeah, Barnard.
Who bought his house on the remuneration he got from various discoveries. Yes, that's right. Well, I got an enormous amount of money from this country, so...
You probably paid more in taxes, George.
Yes, that's right. Yes, yeah.
I mean, you can stick to the job.
But I mean, you've got to... When you look at Secchi's equipment, well, I think it's a 16-inch.
24 inch.
24 inch, with all the apparatus attached to it.
It's like a professional observer.
I mean, they are, aren't they?
Yeah. And yet at the other end of the spectrum, we've got people like Bill Bradfield in Australia, who seems to make do with the most...
Yes, but you see, he has probably the finest sky that any amateur observer's got.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't do it in Adelaide, he goes right out into the country, into the desert regions or semi-desert regions. And he knows which way to go where he's got less light, whereas I don't suppose he's got no light at all, virtually, where he is. And with the dry air, the atmosphere must be absolutely marvellous.
Yeah.
I understand, because Lancaster Brown has spent some time in the outback, and he used to tell me tales of what it was like in the outback years and years ago when I used to meet him. Yes, it was absolutely wonderful, not a light anywhere. And of course, you're looking at the southern hemisphere, so the central part of the galactic fields are tremendously luminous to what they are here.
Yes.
I mean, they must light up the whole ground, even on a black night. There's so much sky.
So would you like to try and search for comets still?
I would have liked to have done nova sweeping down there, where I felt that nobody was doing any.
Could you face learning the southern sky?
Oh yes, easy. Easy. Yes, I would have done that easy.
Yeah, absolutely well, man.
Yeah. From the A1, start due west. The whole string of lights right across here to this bungalow. You see the traffic in the distance. You won't film it there, but you can see the traffic in the distance running across there. And that goes down to the A1 at that double overhead thing that you passed under on the way here. We have these chimneys here, which are really the biggest nuisance to me still. You pick the one day when the wind's smoke's going away. Those four over there, this yard is closed, those yards are closed, but there was strings of chimneys along here and another lot over there in the northeast, about 7 miles away. Altogether there used to be 135 chimneys. There's now, as you see, just a fragment of them. So when the brickyards closed down, I thought at last we're going to have a chance to have a dark sky. And then they put all those sodium lamps up along there. And I don't know whether the local council have got a grant from the electricity board to put sodium lights, but they use sodium all along. Yeah. Fortunately, we've got this light here. When I first came, they wanted to put it just about here. And so I wrote to the electricity board, not expecting any favours. As I was going to start astronomical work in here, after doing it down in the city for a long time, could they possibly consider moving the light? To my utter astonishment, I knew somebody on the electricity board that did, when I taught. So they moved it from there to the end of that bit of grass. Of course, the neighbour who lived here then complained about he couldn't get his car in. So the police and they came up and they having looked at it carefully, they said, well, he didn't ought to be driving a car at all if he couldn't get out without knocking the lamp down. Well, the lamp was put there, that corner. The shadow from that corner didn't go. Since that happened, no, the lamp was at the edge of the gate. Since that happened, somebody kindly demolished the lamp. Some motorist come along here about
They never replaced it.
So they replaced it. I was trying to think they moved it further away still, so I'm okay. The only trouble is, of course, I have a lot of trouble in that window downstairs. But if you pull the curtains across, you'll hide that light, you see, so you're all right.
Can you just point out roughly where north is, George?
North is that mast, virtually that mast over there is north. That's north. Pole star virtually over there. Not quite, but that's enough. That's near enough. So the west is where those hills are, just across there. That's west. And south over here. But it's rather in my back door, the sun rises exactly behind a distant tree, like a gnomon on Stonehenge. Yeah. And it is clear on December the 21st, isn't it? You wouldn't think so, but I see more sunrises in December than I do sunsets in the summer. And when the sun sets in the summer, it goes round to almost that pole there. But that tree is very...
yourself to somebody else, what would you call yourself?
Probably a perfect idiot. I think I'm more insane. Certainly a chap with a kink.
An observer?
Yes, an observer. I'm nothing else but an observer. And anything that I can observe, I draw and sketch all that. Anything, any sort of observation. Natural history, architecture, weather, making weather observations, at least 12 times a day. and astronomy.
Been more successful at astronomy.
I've been successful in astronomy because other people are not interested in the other things that I've done so much. The Nature Conservancy, of course, are interested in. But as I've only got 2 copies of those coloured drawings, natural history, I'm not likely to until somebody thinks about producing them. But as they're in colour, I think they're beyond the ordinary person to produce them in colour.
Well, George, you've had a tremendous time down here.
I hope so.
You've shown us almost everything, all your secrets. And thanks for having us.
Very good of you.
Okay, George.
Yeah, thank you.